Shreveport, take the ice, please. Shreveport, take the ice.
Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome into the Ector County Coliseum. My name is Michael Wazinski, the voice of the Odessa Jackalopes for this 2022-23 campaign as they get set to play their final matchup of the regular season against the Shreveport Mudbugs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome.
Game number one of this weekend series did not go in favor of the Jacks as they fell by a score of 3-1. After notching the first goal from the captain, Ryan Mansfield, on the power play. Eric Vitale scored less than 2 minutes later on the first power play for the Mudbugs. Ryan Mansfield's power play goal, his 17th goal of the season, came on the Jackalopes' third man advantage. And then less than 2 minutes after Vitale scored, it was Drake Morse, one of the three assistant captains for Shreveport. He notched his 16th of the season to make it a 2-1 game after the first period here at the Ector County Coliseum. The second period saw no scoring, but it was the best period the Jackalopes had of the three as they put up their most shots of the three periods at 12. In the first and third, they put up 6 or fewer shots onto the South Division Star of the Week from last week, Simone Bushler, the Mercyhurst commit. He's also has been awarded previously this season South Division Star of the Week and back-to-back goaltender of the month from December and January. Only one goal was scored in period number 3. Came at the 10:21 mark of that final period from Jaden Goldie, marking his 6th of the season. And the Mudbugs outshot the Jackalopes 31-23 in a 60-minute span. In game number 1 yesterday, Jackalopes looking for a bounce-back game, but they're going up against, again, the same Mudbugs team from yesterday. And now Shreveport's on a 7-game win streak, but a point streak of 9 games, 8-0-0-1. A point tonight in any fashion for the visiting Mudbugs will have them punch their ticket to the Robertson Cup playoffs. They have a record of 32-14-2-5, good for 71 points. They are 16-6-1-2 as the road team. The Jackalopes 25-24-1-2 at 53 points. They are 12-10-1-1 as the home team and had their 1-game win streak snapped yesterday in the 3-1 loss to the Mudbugs, so now they are on a 1-game losing streak. We're going to get started with the starting lineups. We'll start with the visiting Mudbugs. On the third line, they're going with Nick Marino, Hayden Nickel at center, one of the assistant captains, and Jake Mack on the right-hand side. On defense, it's Ryan Austin and Alex Park at the top line. And between the pipes again, Simone Bushler from St. Laurent, Quebec, 6'2", 185 pounds. He's playing in his 37th game this season with a 25-6-1-1 record. The winningest NAHL goaltender so far this season. We'll have the national anthem followed by the ceremonial puck drop here at the Jack Shack.
Perilous fight for the
please.
And now as we await the ceremonial puck drop for the final meeting between these two teams, I'll talk about the starting lineup for your Odessa Jackalopes. They're going with the fourth line of Brendan Finn on the left wing. Center, Josh Austin. Right wing, J.R. Pernian, the LIU commit. As there has been a shakeup, maybe for the ages. The biggest one, certainly, to my knowledge, for this season. And again, more on that later. I'll get into it maybe at a halt to play or maybe a media timeout. But there is a lot of adjustments head coach Scott Doerr has made with this roster for game number 2 of this weekend series. After this, the Jacks will have 7 regular season games left here in the 2022-23 campaign. On defense, they're starting Lemuel Vardy, second line left defenseman. Off to his right-hand side will be Noah Marino. Again, no relation to Nick Marino, who's starting left wing for the Mudbugs. And between the pipes for the 39th time this season, the UAA commit from Gior Hungary, Greg Orderos, with a 20-16-1 record, a 2.97 goals against average, and a save percentage of .918. He is a 6', 385-pound goaltender in his final season of junior hockey. Jackalopes once again wearing their Shriner specialty jerseys that will be auctioned off live here in the Ector County Coliseum after the conclusion of this game over by the main doors, where we always do the jersey auctions, but there will be one other final jersey auction at the end of the season on the final game of the regular season. And for the first time in a few years, the Jackalopes will end the season on home ice. They'll most likely be auctioning off their home white jerseys. They are going right to left from your vantage point for period number 1. Mudbugs in the away teal jerseys going left to right, and the Jackalopes control the opening face-off here in game number 2. As it's softly played in by J.R. Pernian around the yellow trim to the far side. Half wall, it's picked up and then kicked along by Hayden Nickel. Back to the defense it will go, and a long stretch pass misses Nick Marino. So Noah Marino will get to it first and tag it up for an icing call. Yesterday, within the first 5 minutes of the contest, or I should say within the first 3 minutes, there were 5 icing calls against the Jackalopes. And a little bit of miscommunication on some of the long stretch passes from one zone to the other. And now you're kind of seeing it with Shreveport early in. 20 seconds, an offensive zone draw for the Jacks as that's rounded off the near side boards and chopped back out between the blue lines. Noah Marino tries to force it out of the zone, gets some help by firing it off the bench boards. DDD near side, back over to Zarski. He sends it right back over to Liam Fleet. And we'll slow things down in behind Simon Bushler. Again, 6'2", 185 pounds. As that one will go all the way down for Wojciechowski to wheel it as far as the far side point. As Bezier draped it on back, intercepted by Shreveport along the wall. And now with it's Justin Hughes centering that top line. Feeds it to Bezier. He fires one. Rebound was there. And it's tracked down by Shreveport from Fleet over to Zarski. And yes, you heard that right. Justin Hughes is being promoted to that top line. And I know Scott Doerr doesn't usually like to say that he's got one line over the other, or top lines per se. But Ryan Kelly has moved from first line center to third line center, being paired up with Cam Dunn and Charlie Emmy on the wings. And it's the first time that top line has been broken up, to my knowledge, all season long. The second line is completely the same. Emerson Good, William Marshall, Dane Hoyer. And of course, you have that J.R. Pernian drop. He's usually been that third line winger. And he drops to the fourth line for that starting unit with him and Josh Austin, and Brendan Finn. And they're also going with an extra forward. Typically, Scott Doerr runs an extra defenseman, but extra forward is number 16, Adam Armijo from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And a backwards pass misses Danziger. And Bushler will come out to plant from the far side corner. We'll send it around. Stepping up is Emerson Good, leading the team in goals with 27. Ain't shy of tying the franchise record. And Ryan Mansfield, as I was talking about him, Jackalopes captain for this season, he is 1 point away from 50. He would become one of 8 Jackalopes players in the NHL Odessa history with 50 points in a season. As we have a halt to play with 17:23 left to go in period number 2. It's going to be brought back into the Jackalopes territory on the far side circle. And really the only alteration to the Mudbugs roster is out of the lineup is Murray, a healthy scratch. And they put in Nick Lavoisier. And they also moved Brent Litchard into that Murray role, the first line center for Litchard. He was that extra player yesterday. It comes loose out in front, and mishandling with that one dangerously in the blue paint was Ryan Austin. Shreveport does come away with it. Across the red, now the blue. Far side wall. Left in, and attacking that one was Litchard for Shreveport. Knifed along and then chopped out of midair by Ryan Kelly, who's got relatives in attendance. Sent out of the zone, and Jackalopes will enter, attacking on the far side wing. Thrown off the end boards as changes are coming on the fly for the men in the white and gold jerseys here, honoring Shriners weekend as they do every year, as Austin trying to pluck it away from the far side boards. Ended up turning it over. And over into the near side corner, it is corralled by Litchard. Back over to Zarski, now to Fleet. We'll send it to the half wall as Shreveport tries to dance out with it. Sliced over to Zarski, down the right wing, and fluttered into the Odessa zone as Tallinn will pick it up in behind Ordos. Chopped off the near side boards and all the way into the offensive zone. Icing is waved off. Yesterday, very active whistle from the lone referee, as that one has to be stopped by Bushler from a horizontal angle. Just over 4 minutes in to period number 1. That one remained in the field of play, just going off the top piece of glass just to the left of the Mudbugs penalty box. A very active whistle from the referee, Nate Kazari, as both teams finished 1 for 6 on the power play. Hauled in from the blue line by Shreveport and then eventually jabbed out by Wojciechowski. The defensive stick on puck from the Illinois native, as that one caroms all the way over to the near side corner for Tallinn to settle things down. In behind his netminder with 15:15 left to play here in period number 1. And stretch it over to Jack Kristen. Forward pass. Jackalopes are offside. They don't touch it as Hughes is bumped away from the puck. 3-on-2 for Shreveport. Left circle, they fire high riser. That deflects up and into the safety netting for halt to play. The rush was stemming from Ryan Alston on the far side. Again, if you're just tuning in, 3rd place Shreveport going up against 6th place Odessa. And the South Division had some interesting final scores yesterday. Amarillo won their game, so now they are gaining some separation between them and the Jacks, as they now sit 4 points ahead of Odessa in 5th place. New Mexico lost in regulation to Lone Star, so it would have been nice for the Jacks to maybe pick up a win yesterday and try to get closer to that available 4th spot. That's currently being held by New Mexico. It will be the final road destination of the season for the Jacks, as Mitchell's having trouble with the linesman on the far side. He wipes out as play continues on. But the biggest, of course, surprise to many, as that one has to be snared by Ordos from the far side circle with 14:29 left to go in period number 1. But to many, El Paso beating Oklahoma in regulation by a score of 5-4. Not many people saw that, but I talked about El Paso on the broadcast yesterday, how they're developing for next year. A lot of young, quick talent. And who would get the game-winning goal? Well, Tanyan Bajir's little brother, Camden Bajir, who was a big thorn in the backside for the Jacks in their first trip to El Paso this season. That wasn't too long ago. Yeah, 2 multi-goal games that weekend. Emerson Good launches it rink wide. Trying to feed a forward pass to Marshall just past his outreach stick. Dragged along by Marshall. He tries to wrap around. He scores! It caromed off of Bushler, and William Marshall gets the first goal of the game with 14:11 left to go in period number 1 for the 32nd first goal of the season for your Jacks. Goal number 10 of his NAHL career for number 10, a Webster Groves, Missouri native. With one more year of junior eligibility under his belt, tried the wraparound opportunity and kind of just knuckled off of Bushler in a weird spot on the far post. And yesterday, Odessa went 1 for 2 at one point. They were being outshot heavily by Shreveport. It was at one point 7-0 or 7-1 in shots. It finished 13-5 after the first period, but Odessa did put up one. They were trailing 2-1 after the first, but at one point they were 1 for 2. They scored, Mansfield scored on that second shot register onto Bushler yesterday. Now they're 1 for 3 on the Mercyhurst commit. And the current winningest goaltender in the NAHL at 25 games. Been saying it a lot this season. The Jackalopes are certainly a team that come out and start games guns blazing. But it's almost like the wick of the candle. There's not enough, and it kind of burns out before the final horn. And yesterday their second period was the best, which maybe hasn't been some of their better hockey. Again, they've been a first period team for so long. Their most goals are in that first period, as now they're at 63 total. And moved along right back to Marshall, looking for more as he keeps his Ironman streak alive. Saw him before warm-ups when some of the players moved the puck around on the ice before even the doors open for the fans. They're currently cheering on the Jacks as they lead 1-0. And he was out there skating, kind of doing some movements, and that's a little bizarre from my knowledge, as usually they're just in their shoes moving the puck around or in slides and just getting a feel for the ice, moving around with some teammates. But he was out there with the trainer. Head coach Scott Dewar was looking on. It almost looked like maybe Marshall maybe was banged up the previous night, or maybe was working on a new pair of skates and making sure they felt right for him. But he was doing some, as you would say, suicides, or just going from one line to the other, just practicing on it. And a penalty is upcoming against Shreveport as they upended Cam Dunn along the boards. Tripping is the call. And the Jackalopes on the power play as they lead 1-0. The other current Ironman for the Jacks, Emerson Good, Marshall. Also have Tatum Paintier, Ryan Mansfield. Last year, the only person to play in a Jackalopes jersey from start to finish was Ryan Kusler. So there's already 4 for the Jacks, trying to go all 60 games healthy, and that's certainly very hard to do. You got to applaud them if they're able to get there. It's a grueling sport, but also a very tough division that they play in. Back up top, they send it to Kelly. Power play for the Jacks, their first of the evening. They went 1 for 6 yesterday. 20 seconds has elapsed as it goes all the way back up top. They're going up against the 5th-ranked penalty kill. Well, that certainly doesn't help, as they, again, are up against a very stout and potent penalty kill that immediately sends on a new unit. With 12:10 left to go in period number 1. And just 1:15 left on this Jersey Mike man advantage. Played back to the defense. Skated along the right-hand side by Trevor Tallene. Tallene had lost an edge on the far side. And back to Begier, they send it. Begier with it. Leaves wide right and then whistled one right off the glass on the near side, kept in by the Jacks. My apologies earlier. I got to correct myself. That was Ryan Kelly that had wiped out. Now it's Trevor Talley. And again, New Jerseys and again, some of the new line changes certainly trying to adjust at the broadcast booth level up here. Again, gold numbers with black trim outlining them as it's brought in down the left-hand side by Horde. Played out in front, an opportunity for good as sprawling in the crease was Bushler. He's unable to pull the trigger. Back up top to Talley. Under 10 seconds left on the man advantage. Low to high, they send it. Pernian from the point. He walks the line, leaves it back, tapped along for Talley. They look for a tip right at Bushler, and he eats it up in the breadbasket off a redirect from J.R. Pernian. As the power play expired, 4-1, and shots in favor of the Jacks as they lead 1-0. 10:48 left to go in period number 1. As Josh Austin loses the draw to Ryan Burke. Sent all the way out of the zone, chasing after it, Jack Kristen. And Hull touched that one up for a nice and call, beating out Kason Musket, Shreveport, Louisiana native. Kason Musket, 0-5 left winger, 5'11", 170 pounds, but he's committed to the University of Maine. And Burke steps in to take the draw against Josh Austin. Off to the blocker hand of Simo Bushler. With 10:41 left to go in period number 1. Austin with it. Brings it in behind Bushler, trying to wrap around of his own, and there's a big collision with Bushler's net as the Jackalope player was thrown into it. A shot came thereafter, missed well wide. As that was Adam Armijo that was thrown into the 4x6 cage, guarded by Bushler. 10:29 left to go in period number 1. Puck is back at the neutral zone dot, closest to the Mudbugs bench. As Austin went toe-to-toe with Brent Litchard. Litchard won it. Snapping off the near side boards, and Litchard will pick it up. But offside, says linesman Sean Rounds with 10:21 left to go in period number 1. Neutral zone draw right by the Jackalopes penalty box. Litchard once again to take it for Shreveport. As he went up against Ryan Kelly. Shoveled in behind the Mudbugs. Mitchell takes a hard hit on the far side corner, but was able to move the puck along as it's saucered over to Charlie Emmy. Playing in just his 3rd game in the NHL, all with the Jackalopes and all in specialty jerseys. Played his first one on December 9th against Corpus Christi. A big hit from Noah Marino on the far side. Almost sending a Mudbug player up and into the Jackalopes bench. It appeared that was number 16, Nick Miller. Right back over to Hayden Nickel, the assistant captain. Flips it end over end and in behind Orderals as it ricochets off the shelf of the end boards. Marino trying to drag it away from the other Marino. Gaining the red line and firing that one deep was done. Right on to Bushler. And we'll have an offensive zone draw upcoming for your Jacks with 9:23 left to go in period number 1. And we have ourselves immediate timeout as well. They're up in shots, 5-1.
With reliable game speeds and latest technology, you can serve stream binge and game even better. Watch and record your favorite teams and TV shows with Astound TV and Astound TV Plus. Connectical roll is possibilities back
Well, Garrett Steele, the captain for the Shreveport Mudbugs, came out and did a solo lap before the rest of his team joined him for warm-ups, and that's because he is playing in his 200th NAHL game, all with the Shreveport Mudbugs. And that puts him in very strong company across the NAHL landscape. For any player that's ever worn an NAHL jersey and stepped onto an NAHL sheet of ice, Garrett Steele in today's game will end it tied for 29th all-time in the NHL in games played. Shreveport has 6 games remaining in the regular season. That is all they count. So he could theoretically move up as far as 19th and tie for that position. But out of a database of over 10,000, maybe over 10,460 is what I'm seeing as a database number for the total amount of NAHL players that have graced the Tier 2 junior hockey level. And that is a big accomplishment, of course, for the captain. And they even made some shirts to honor his 200th game. And it's a rare sight to see, especially spending it all with one franchise or organization, I guess you could say, as it's picked up far side by Eric Vitale. Sent down low to Golian. Turned right over to Emerson Good, who was trying to dance away from the persistent Drake Morse. And still brought out of the zone by Emerson Good. Good puck protection from Emerson Good, but offside is called. As the puck didn't get over to Dane Hoyer, but the linesman says otherwise. 8:51 left to go in the first period. A neutral zone draw is upcoming. Nearest the broadcast booth. Dane Hoyer, assistant captain for the Jacks, who is in its final year of junior eligibility and will go play at Army West Point. He will be, well, he is currently the 3rd all-time games played in Jackalopes NAHL history. He could end with 167, which would put him too shy of tying the franchise record. And I said it a while ago, he was on pace for that. As icing is waved off here. Recovered down low by Kason Muskin and then thrown heavy off the puck. As Hoyer brings it out, twirl one over to Emerson Good. Good trying to send it back to Hoyer. And negated by the heavy traffic in the left circle as it's passed out by Shreveport. And good hand high by Trevor Mitchell, flipping it up as far as the Jackalopes blue line. Gets it back far side. And it's passed over to Justin Hughes. Was quickly poke checked off of the New Jersey native stick, and a pass over again. Intercepted that time by Brent Lyncher. They throw it across and paddled aside by Ordos. Again, Justin Hughes moved up to the top line center. Scott Dewar shaking some things up here in the final few games of the regular season after a 3-1 loss to this team yesterday as icing is called against the Jacks. Mansfield and Bajer still on the wings. With Justin Hughes, age-out centerman, is up on the top line. He swapped with Ryan Kelly. J.R. Pernian also moved from the 3rd-line wing over to the 4th-line wing as he's paired up tonight with Josh Austin and Brendan Finn. Defense is pretty much the same, and I will say Michael Kadlacik and Jackson Hay out of the lineup this weekend due to some injuries. And if you're tuning in, and of course we don't show the live jersey auction through Hockey TV, Kadlacik, unfortunately, as that one sailed up and over the leaping head of Ordos as it's pitchforked as far as the top of that point, and then finally ladled out by the Jacks. Michael Kadlacik actually broke his hand in that fight last weekend against an Ice Ray player. He did finish out that game, but unfortunately will most likely not be able to return from what I've heard done for the season. As Michael Kadlacik, Jackson Hay, the senior, we're hoping he's okay as that one off a deflection caught Ordos, and he was well outside of his crease on the near side, had to fight off another one. As Justin Hughes finally will exit the zone as it glides right in front of the Jackalopes bench with 6:35 left to go in the first. Brought in by Shreveport. They trail 1-0. Played back in between the hash marks. And picked up and skated out by Perdian. Played to the right-hand side for Austin. Drop back pass for the LIU commit. Perdian off the boards, back to himself. Ridden hard into the Zamboni door where that actually caught the stick of Matthew Danziger. Stick appears to be intact, and so he goes back to the bench. Brendan Finn launching it out to the center ice logo. As Garrett Steele, the captain, Simpson on back to Zarski. Cross ice past the Fleet and right back to Steele. Carries it out through center. He'll enter first with a lot of speed. Fires one into a shot block. And a shot from the top of the right circle goes through the arm of Orderals and into the back of the net with 5:47 left to go in period number 1. In his 200th NAHL game, the captain ties things up at 1 apiece. Orderals thought he had that snug against his right arm and body. That's his blocker hand that Garrett Steele went after. Garrett Steele gets his 20th goal of the season.
Shreveport mini lobster. Goal scored by number 18, Garrett Steele, assisted by number 7, Liam Lee.
There was no assist on William Marshall's goal. As icing was waved off, it appeared as if there was a hand raised from the linesman behind the play. That one's pitchforked and sent into the Jackalope zone. As after it is Trevor Tolley trying to get it away from the opposition. He's bear hugged from behind by Musket. No call on the play. But numbers for the Jacks if they can hurry. Emmy stays on sides. Over to Wojciechowski. Whips one towards Bushler. In and out of the chest of the Mercyhurst commit. Gathered by Gotinsky and sent to the far side corner. Whip it back to Danziger as he'll slow the pace down behind his netminder. Bring it out of the zone and shovel it over to Lynchern, who crosses the blue line first. The righty halts his momentum by pumping the brakes in the right circle as it's swept around to the far side. Jackalopes pick it up. Marshall's backwards pass intercepted, and it caromed off the backside of the net. All right, back over to Gotinsky, looking for an outlet. Works it back up top to Zarski. After a high to low attempted pass, it's finally fluttered out by the Jacks. This will go the length of the ice, though, for an icing call with just under 4:30 left in this opening period. It's an offensive zone draw for Shreveport off to the glove hand of Orderals. He's playing in his 39th game as they fire one that has to be fought off by the UAA commit. He's got a record of 20-16-1. Twisting and turning with it in his own zone is Jack Kristen. Sent down the near side and right over to the blade of Emerson Good. Good enters the offensive zone first. Tried to deke away the opposition. Ended up coughing it up as he rides a Mudbug player. That was Jake Mack into the left corner. And from a goal line shot, that's denied on the near post by Bushler. Zarski had his pocket picked by Hoyard as the puck was dribbling a little bit in the left circle. And it finally feathered out by Shreveport. Emerson Good head faking. Whips it off the end boards into no man's land as Noah Marino has the back pedal. Helping him out is Vardy. Pass forward to Marshall. And a clearing pass from Noah Marino. Jackalopes with new legs on the ice here in a 1-1 hockey game with 3:20 left in the opening period. A turnover from Shreveport, and then Mansfield can't get a shot off. Skated out by Vitale, far side wall. Fires one low, that's paddled aside easily by Orderals. Picked up below the goal line by the Jacks as they try to set it up for the captain. Wojciechowski was hit hard into the corner. Puck is still loose. Knifed all the way up top to Park. Fires a low one. That's gathered by Vitale on the far side. He gets free with some open room, fires it out in front, and pounced on in the blue paint by Ordos with 2:47 left to go. Wojciechowski very stung on the previous play, hunched over on his way back to the bench with an offensive zone draw upcoming to Shreveport. Offensive zone draw for the Mudbugs. Ryan Burke to take it for them. And it's off to the glove hand of Ordos. With 2:47 left to go in this opening period. Almost winning that one was Josh Austin, and Burke actually broke his stick off the initial draw. Thought it might have been the Fond du Lac, Wisconsin native stick, Austin, but it was number 23 in teal and white, as that one takes a deflection up and out of the Jackalope zone. And it's gathered by Danziger. Armijo applying the pressure on the near side boards. He also has family in attendance for his first set of action. Austin carries it away, tries to throw a backhand one. That ricochets all the way up top for Jack Christen. Feathered over to Austin, and a cross-sized pass goes awry for Perdian. Armijo chases it into the circle for Austin. Can't pull the trigger as he was pestered from behind by a few Mudbugs players. Dangerously with it at the line. It was J.R. Perdian. Ended up going offside, but that might have been the best thing for him as he had turned the puck over, and going the other way was Nick Lavoisier all alone. What would have been a breakaway. Pinckney, Michigan native. Was looking for his second goal of the season in just his 20th game. Some of the Mudbugs players didn't like that, but Perdian did bring it out of the zone and then come back in with it. As Emmy is thrown hard off the puck by Zarski. Attacking Litchard behind the goal line is Cam Dunn. Again, his family is not only in this building for the first time, but in Texas for the first time, and two big stops by Bushler. A flurry of chances from the Jacks as they are now leading shots 10-8 with 1:38 left to go here in period number 1. Offensive zone draw for the Jacks. Far side circle. Again, 1:38 left to go. They win the draw, fire into the screen off the ensuing draw, and it's sent out by Shreveport. As it was lobbed in by Nick Marino. And Marino's on the far side, battling after one another. Noah Marino comes away with it for the Jacks. Down the left wing wall. Put some air underneath of it as it gets its way into the Shreveport territory. Finally sent out by Mudbugs. Hit a nickel. Again, playing with his younger brother, Foster Nickel, for the second time this weekend. Played between the legs on the far side and unable to enter the attacking zone were the Jacks, as there's been a lot of play between the blue lines here lately in the last minute or so, as we are now under 60 seconds left. Here in period number 1, a shot from the neutral zone went wide left of Ordos. Marshall trying to grab a hold of it along the far side corner. Now it will go, and Wojciechowski appears to be okay. Pass forward to Good. Winds and fires one that had to be poke checked by Danziger on the shot. And out to the side, it's halted by Bushler as his net comes dislodged from its pegs with 32 seconds left to go in the first period. Seconds left to go in this. Again, very back and forth first period, much different than yesterday's, especially in the shots. With the Jackalopes leading, they only had one double-digit shot period yesterday. It was the second. And they were unsuccessful on converting on any of their 12 shots in that second period. There was a late hit thrown a little bit by Drake Morris onto Emerson Good after he had already got the puck deep into the Mudbug zone. Good comes away with it. Turns and fires one that's eaten up by Bushler. 12 seconds left to go in the first.
Hey, don't forget during this intermission would be a great time to head on down to the east of the Coliseum into the merch stand. Grab your bidder number and bid on one of these awesome game-worn jerseys.
Yesterday, Shreveport only had one period in which they didn't put up double-digit shots, and that was the second period. They'll whip it around the boards from their own zone, all the way out to the captain, Steele, who has the only goal so far for Shreveport. And Muskett's shot goes wide left of Orderals, kept in by Fleet. Only for a moment as the horn sounds, ending the first of 3 periods here from the Ector County Coliseum in a 1-1 hockey game in West Texas. Shots favoring the Jacks, 11-8. After the first 20 minutes of play here at the Ector County Coliseum, special jerseys the Jacks are wearing as it's Shriners weekend. Marshall talking things over with a few of the Mudbugs on the way off the ice. The officials still getting in between the members in white jerseys and the ones in teal. I believe Marshall's talking to Jake Mack, number 29 in teal and white. Shreveport 2-time Robertson Cup winners in their very short lifespan here in the North American Hockey League as compared to the likes of the Odessa Jackalopes or even the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. Going into this weekend series, the Jackalopes' perspective, the all-time record between these two teams in the NHL was 23-34-4-3. They went into this final weekend series with a 4-1-1 record against the third-place team in the South Division, but fell in regulation yesterday. So tonight, 4-2-1 on the season against the visiting Mudbugs. They'll finish above 500. There's another team that they will do so against. They've already ended the season series with Oklahoma, El Paso, and Corpus Christi. Of those 3, the only ones that they went below 500 was Oklahoma, as they went 0-8 on the season. And it's the current top place team in the South Division, the Warriors. Again, a point in any fashion for Shreveport will put them into a playoff berth, which will only leave the opportunity to get that 4 spot from New Mexico. We're currently sitting at 63 points and wrapping up 4 straight games with Lone Star. It started back in Brahmaland last weekend. It's concluding at the Outpost in Albuquerque, New Mexico this evening. I'm going to take a quick look around the NHL scoreboard, see how teams are faring in the South Division. Amarillo's up 2-0 over the Ice Rays with 5 minutes left to go in period number 1. Lone Star, New Mexico, locked at a stalemate 0-0 at 10:15 left to go in the first. And the Warriors in El Paso about to drop the puck in El Paso, Texas, so 0-0 from the final game in the South Division. Again, El Paso upsetting Oklahoma yesterday in regulation, 5-4. Certainly a big blockbuster win by that team in 7th place. They've been mathematically eliminated for a little while, them and Corpus Christi, but I've been saying it for the last few games, especially when the Jacks went there and got swept. That is a team that could be very dangerous next year. They're putting the pieces together now for next season and beyond, of course, but they are going to lose Nolan Suggs as their top goaltender, who's played in almost every game for them this season. So they're going to have to maybe look elsewhere for a goaltender for next year. But very, very, very young roster in El Paso and in Corpus Christi. And the South Division is going to look a lot different, not only based on, how teams, obviously, the ebb and flow of losing seniors and, again, like the likes of El Paso and maybe Corpus Christi trying to get into a mix, but you're also bringing in the Colorado grit, putting the South Division at 9 teams And I'm still not sure if the playoff format will remain the same or change. We'll have to wait and see what the offseason looks like and whenever the league officially announces, of course, the schedules and how all that's going to get broken down. They're still going to be the largest division of the four in the NAHL. And they just had the team in New Hampshire added over to the East Division, as well as the Rochester Junior Americans going into the East Division. So they're going to be getting a lot of looks in the East Division now after they were having a smaller division in the previous few seasons.
Great job, great job. We're going to pull on a chair. All right, yeah, let's pull on a chair. And now we're down to 5 teams, 4 chairs.
I'm going to step aside, get some things updated on social media. So there's 13:30 left to go in the first period intermission. And a tied 1-1 hockey game here from the Ector County Coliseum. Stay tuned on Hockey TV. Welcome back into the Ector County Coliseum as we get set for period number 2 between the Shreveport Mudbugs and your Odessa Jackalopes in a stalemate contest so far on a 1-1 score through 20 minutes of play. And here's how we got here. First goal of the game was scored by William Marshall unassisted off a wraparound. Caromed off of Simo Bushler. It's the 32nd time the Jackalopes have scored the first goal of the game, a record of 18-10, 1-2. When doing so, they've actually now tied Shreveport for first goals in a game at 32. And going into this weekend, that number was the third most in the NAHL. So Jackalopes, one of the best in terms of getting out the gate earlier, but of course it bodes well to be able to play that way for a full 6-minute span. That was something that head coach Scott Doran was discussing with me after the game yesterday as I had the chance to interview him and talk about the loss from last night. And he just talked about how if you only play one period, you're never going to be able to win in this league, and especially if you're only able to produce one goal. That's how many they have up on the board right now, but that's also the only amount Shreveport has onto the UAA commit Greg Orderos. The only goal for Shreveport was the captain for his 20th of the season in his 200th NAHL game. That is a big feat, and of course you have to tip your cap to the captain for the Mudbugs from Chelsea, Michigan. 20 goals for him, 16 assists this season for 36 points. He is now tied 29th overall in NAHL history with over 10,000 skaters that have graced this Tier 2 junior hockey level in terms of games played. So that's a big feat. He could finish among the top in the teens. He could get as far as maybe 17th or 19th, right around that area. As they are fixing the net, will be guarded by Greg Orderos for period number 2, and right around that goal line increase of his. Shots in favor of the Jacks, 11-8. After the first 20 minutes of play here in the Ector County Coliseum. Again, official same as yesterday. Nate Kozari, linesman Sean Rounds, and Jacob Rosenberg. And man, talk about March Madness. Down goes Kansas State. FAU. The number 9 seed, advancing to the Final Four. The highest seats ever win the March Madness tournament, 1985 Villanova, and that's an 8 seed. No seed higher than 8 has even ever made it to the championship. There's been a few 8s. As I said yesterday, the Jackalopes going to try to create some madness in March, and it's going to have to be in April as well if they want a chance at that final playoff spot. Currently being held by the New Mexico 12s. I can pretty much already say Shreveport's going to be in it. They only need 1 point to secure it. Even with Amarillo and Odessa going out and winning pretty much every game, they can't, however, because they match up against one another at the end of the regular season. It will most likely lead Shreveport into a playoff spot, but they are trying to get home ice advantage for the first round, if not for the second round, depending if Oklahoma makes out the first round. But they're only 2 points behind the Lone Star Promise, who sit in second place. They had a very narrow win against New Mexico yesterday by a score of 1-0. So close games going on between second and fourth place. Next weekend, though, Shreveport is still going to be on the road as they go up against the Oklahoma Warriors and what will be, I'm sure, a ferocious start to finish weekend over at OKC. Jackalopes are just moving the legs around the starting group that will be out there for Shreveport. Just standing outside of the Mudbugs bench, everybody else remaining seated. As they're still trying to fix whatever is wrong with Orderos' goal line area, right where the puck has to cross for it to be signified as a goal. But the ref and linesman looking on as they are still talking with the Hungarian netminder and the age-out goaltender. Again, this was just guarded in period number 1 by Simon Buschler. And that came off once or twice, but nothing too crazy. You didn't see much on Orderos's end back in period number 1. But this is a lengthy delay coming out of already an intermission, as the guys, both teams, trying to keep their legs loose. And it's interesting that Shreveport didn't take the opportunity to maybe mimic what Odessa was doing in this long delay to start period number 2. And a thumbs up from the referee, so it appears we're all set. Olderos is tapping the posting crossbar that he is guarding here for the middle frame. So everybody that's not currently on the ice for the Mudbugs sat during that lengthy start to period number 2. So we'll see how the next few shifts for Shreveport fare here in period number 2. Sent back to the defense. Waiting with it is Ryan Austin. We'll send it forward all the way down. And gathered by Vardy. Played off the end boards to Austin. That's Josh Austin for Odessa. And after it was Pernian. Fired from Nick Marino. And Jackalopes are able to send it up to the top of the right point, but not out. And that one ricochets back over to Noah Marino. Number 12 in white and gold. Off the blade of Pernian and down for an icing call. With 19:22 left to go in period number 2. You can't say enough how important matchups are, coaching styles. There was only one penalty called in that first period, which was interesting because the whistle was very active from referee Nate Kazari yesterday in game 1. Now, as both teams finished with 1-on-6 power play. Breakaway for J.R. Purney, and down the slide he shoots. Stopped by Buschler. And sent right into the corner to Fleet. Right back over to Vitale. Down the left wing. Fires one far side as it's sticked up and into the safety netting by Orderals. 1 minute into this second period. Both teams have registered their first shots of this period, as it's an offensive zone draw for Shreveport. Trying to pick up their 33rd win on the season. Jackalopes looking for their 26th. One back by Burke. Foster nickel. High to low, he sends it. Broken up between the hash marks. And it's sent out. It will spin on its edge and go down for an icing call against the Jacks. Draws off to the blocker hand of Orderos. As directing his teammate is Ryan Burke. He told Casey Musket to go to the left wing. Still waiting for the puck to be dropped on the near side circle in the Jackalopes territory. Justin Hughes to take it for the Jacks. It squirts loose right to Ryan Mansfield. Gains the red line and will sauce it deep. And colliding with the far side post accidentally was number 28, Foster Nickel, on a back check. As he appears to be okay with 18:42 left to go in the second period. This will be an offensive zone draw for the Jacks after an incidental play. Number 28 in his own net. Offensive zone draw, far side circle for the Jacks. Who's to take it? Lost it to Burke as it's fed on the far side. Tapped over to Burke. He enters first, one-on-one with Tallene. And Tallene held him to the far side, not allowing him to work his way in between the circles. Stretch pass will finally reach Justin Hughes. Trying to change direction as he's pinned to the boards by a Mudbug. Musket will exit the zone, put it on his forehand, and flip it deep into the offensive zone. And we have a halt to play with 18:09 left to go in period number 2. It was a dump and chase from Shreveport, but they're saying they might not have gained the red line. So it's an icing call against the Mudbugs, and that is what the discrepancy is on the far side by the benches, trying to bring back some of those Mudbugs players. To me, it almost looked like they had surpassed the red line. Either way, it comes back into their own zone. Danziger winds it around the yellow trim, and that one's off the stick and into the Jackalopes bench from number 18, Garrett Steele. A lone goal scorer so far for the Mudbugs. Neutral zone draw right in front of the Jackalopes bench. Dane Horn possesses it. Tried to send it rink wide to a waiting Jack Christen. Ricocheted off of the skate of Gotinsky and all the way back down. Jack Christen has to skate after it. Comes loose in the right circle and unable to get a shot off was Nick Miller. Gotinsky with it. Looking for an outlet to send it over to Miller. Miller low to high. He sends it back to the right point. They fire one and misses Wardrose well wide and left. Warrior then misses Marshall on an ensuing pass. And it's jabbed forward by Shreveport. Pretty much a full sail line change for them as they will still have number 14 out on the ice, Brent Litchard. That one misses Bushler. Far side, Jackalopes in after it. Comes directly behind Bushler's cage. Still jostling for it are the Jacks. Emerson Good had his stick lifted by Jake Mack, and out of the zone it will go. But then sent right back in by Noah Marino. Over 3 elapsed here in period number 2 of a 1-1 hockey game at the Ector County Coliseum. Jake Mack right back over to Hayden Nickel. The assistant captain will lob it off the boards. Kelly will grab a hold of it. Played out of the zone and then losing an edge at the center ice logo. It was Charlie Emmy. He appears to be okay. Emmy backpedaling as the Mudbugs surge forward with it. Down the right wing. Fire one right into the breadbasket. And waiting for that one was Ordros. That's a halt to play. 16:25 left to go in this middle frame. 12-10 are the shots in favor of the Jacks. A 1-1 hockey game. An upcoming offensive zone draw for the visiting Mudbugs. Yeah, thanks for tuning in wherever you may be on Hockey TV, or if you're listening to the audio-only option on the Jackalopes YouTube channel. Odessa will wrap up their 7-game homestand next weekend with a 3-3 series against the second-place Lone Star Brahmas. They are 3-2 against on the season and scored their most goals in a game against them just a month ago with an 8-5 final in Brahmaland. Good awareness by the Jackalopes defense. It finally squirts over to Cam Dunn. He enters first and fires one that catches a deflection and is gloved down in the left mitt by Bushler. 15:49 remains in period number 2.
Celebrating his 39th birthday.
And for many players on both sides, it might be the last time they go up against one another. They could see each other in the university level, or maybe back on hometown rinks. Again, teams on both sides still have a lot to fight for. Jackalopes still not mathematically eliminated, although last few weekends for them have been certainly very tough a tough pill to swallow, with a sweep at the hands of El Paso and then a split weekend series against Corpus Christi with a lot of points that could have been picked up and maybe putting them in a better spot going into this little final stretch of the season. Lawson sends it across. Left circle, they wind, fire one. And a wrist shot goes up and over the head of Bushler. That came from J.R. Purdy on the far side. As the Long Island University come in, as that line goes back to the bench for a line change. Offense and defense, new unit onto the ice for Odessa. Over 5 gone here in period number 2. That will go down for an icing against Shreveport. As Odessa is leading in shots 13-11. Jackalopes max points sitting at 69. A loss in regulation would have bumped them down to 67. Of course, that 69 is meaning they'd have to win out all the remaining games, but Gotinski enters. Left circle, backhand pass across, hit a body in front. Good block shot from Lemuel Varney. Centering pass is broken up between the circles, but a penalty is called on hooking against the Jacks with 14:30 left to go. And period number 2. And it's going to be the Mudbugs' first power play of the evening. Guilty party to Captain Ryan Mansfield. A hooking call by referee Nate Kazari. Puck will be dropped off to it with the blocker hand of Ordos. Held in by Steele from the left point. And once again, it comes back to him. Plays it from high to low. And steer it on back to Steele, who's pinning his body up against the near side wall. Trying to keep the frozen rubber on side for his squad before it's finally rifled out by his opposite number, Ryan Kelly. 6 minutes into period number 2. Still a 1-1 hockey game, but Shreveport on the man advantage for the first time. Steele. Now that one poke checked away by Trevor Tallene. And back up to the point it will go for Burke. Now into the circle for Steele. They play catch. Burke back up top of the point. The lefty waits over to Steele. The captain winds, fires one, looking for a second. Doesn't get it. Catches the end boards. Shoveled back up top to Burke as he'll spin it all the way over to the near side and out of the zone it will go. Having the tag back up are the Mudbugs. However, do enter on the stick of Morse, far side. Assistant captain was being pestered on the far side. It works its way back up top to Morse. Now Vitale with it. This is first power play of the evening for Shreveport. They scored on their first one yesterday from Eric Vitale. And it's on the left point now, receiving the pass from Park. Back up top to Park. Now half wall far side. 13:05 left to go in the second period and 30 seconds left of this Kenner printing penalty kill. Up top they send it to Park, the righty. Back over to Nickel. Far side they send it down low looking for an option. They fire one onto Ordos and it's denied. With the follow-up shot, getting some bodies in front. Odessa's unable to clear. Held in by Gotinski far side. Send it just to the right post. And cycled back up top to the point. Now to Vitale, over to Gotinski. Far side, they fire one. Punched aside by Ordos. Out of the box is Mansfield. As we go back to 5-on-5 hockey. Mansfield with a lot of speed. Sauces it over right to the tape of Kelly. 2-on-1 for the Jacks. Kelly trying to get a pass off. Tallene unable to set up a man on the far side, and Brendan Finn with 12:12 left to go in period number 2. Shreveport reading that on-man rush for the Jacks very well. And negated any opportunity they have. Now they have another. Marshall across and unable to bat it out in midair. That was a tough saucer pass. They're trying to track for Emerson Good. Coming out of the penalty kill, the Jackalopes have maintained puck possession very well. Emerson Good left circle, and he is stripped on the puck far side. Goes right back after Nick Marino. Across now. Having trouble handling the rubber, and Good sends it over left circle. They fire one right into the body in front. Rebounds there. And down low into the goal line it will go for Emerson Good. Back up top. Jackalopes doing a tremendous job of moving the puck around. Backwards pass out in front. Blue paint leaped on by Bushler. And some pushing and shoving going on with Foster Nickel. And a Jackalope player can't get the number. It's directly behind Bushler's net. Foster Nickel, 6'1", 172 pounds. Tangled up with a Jackalope player. Still can't get the number. Again, wearing specialty jerseys for Shriners weekend with 11:19 left to go in a 1-1 hockey game. It looks like it's going to be offsetting penalties with William Marshall and Foster Nickel heading to the penalty boxes for their respective teams. William Marshall, the lone goal scorer for the Jacks so far, 5'11", 165. He was going up against Foster Nickel in that little altercation. Again, is 6'1", 172. And I'm pretty sure it's just going to be offsetting with some 4-on-4 hockey. And that does appear what linesman Josh Rosenberg is gesturing to the off-ice officials. 11:19 left to go in period number 2. The halt to play after the save by Bushler leads to an offensive zone draw for Odessa on the far side circle. But after the scrum, we will start at 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. Odessa wins it. They immediately fire one, and it catches the end boards as it elevated too high over the body of Bushler. A roughing minor on William Marshall. And a 2-minute minor for roughing on Foster Nickel. So offsetting roughing calls. Both teams still 0 for 1 on the power play. Both went 1 for 6 yesterday. That was a strong penalty kill by the Jacks. And then afterwards, maintained a lot of puck possession and only offensive zone time. That is not a stat that's tracked at this level, but I'm sure it was very cumulative with the total so far from period number 1 as Drake Morris trying to settle things down in the left circle. Back up top to Austin, they send it. Look for a tip, don't get one. Out to the far side board, 60 seconds left to 4-on-4 hockey. Shreveport settles it at the top of the right point. Feather it down low. Below the goal line it sits, retrieved by Shreveport. Up top to Zarski. The righty walks the blue line, fires one right into the logo of the Hungarian netminder. Reading that well with some traffic between the circles. 49 seconds of 4-on-4 hockey and 10:09 left to go in this middle frame.
Matthew Peterson celebrating his 39th birthday. Make some noise for Matthew.
Draws off to the blocker hand of Orderos. Shreveport wins it up top to Fleet. Out to the half wall. Back up top to Fleet. Him and Nick Marino playing catch it. Ricochets back over to Nickel. Nickel trying to come away with it. One hand on the stick. Backhand shot. Fought off by Orderos and maybe just missing him entirely wide right. Noah Marino comes away with it. As the Marinos going after one another. 4-on-4 ice. 3-on-1 for the Jacks. Perdian tries to set up a centering feed. And denied by the leg of Liam Fleet. Perdian had his stick held. Wanted a call. Didn't get it. Under 9:30 left to go in this second period. Austin collided with Bushler's net, and we have a halt to play. That 4-on-4 was almost utilized to perfection by the Jacks on a 3-on-1 odd-man rush. Got broken up by number 7 in teal from Denver, Colorado. Liam Fleet, 6'1", 200 pounds. Playing in his 42nd game. 5 points for him, 1 goal so far this season. 4 seconds left to 4-on-4 hockey before Marshall and Foster Nickel are able to exit the penalty boxes. Off to the glove hand, it's going to be dropped. And Shreveport will possess it. Out of the box comes Marshall and Foster Nickel as they race cross ice to send on new legs. Coming away with it is Brent Litcher, and then launched right back in from neutral territory by the Jacks as they apply the forecheck on the far side wall. Moved along by Bezier. Mansfield playing it out in front and hopes to get it to Justin Hughes, unable to do so as it was read well by Shreveport and airmailed all the way into the left corner. Didn't have enough steam to go for icing as Tauline's battling a Mudbug player. Still in the left corner, that's number 16, Nick Miller. Vassier rifles one diagonally into the right corner. Orderos sets up Tauline. And kind of bring things to a standstill in behind Orderos, and a long stretch pass redirects off the blade of Mansfield as he will leap over the bench to send on a new unit with 8:20 left to go in period number 2. Yeah, thanks for tuning in on Hockey TV. You're watching a 1-1 hockey game here at the Jack Shack. Top of that point, they fire one, and at the top of his crease, it's smothered between the leg pads by Bushler as we head to immediate timeout here in West Texas. Well, Odessa started this second period out shooting the Mudbugs 11-8. They are now being outshot 17-14. So it's been a 9-shot period for Shreveport and only a 3-shot period so far by your Jacks. With 8:10 left to go in the second frame.
You have the dirtiest car parking lot. Make sure you have the merchandise store to claim your certificate for a car wash, courtesy of our friends at Salsa's Auto Spa. And while you're down there in the merchandise store, go ahead and grab your bidder number and
take a quick look around the NAHL scoreboard, see how some of the teams are faring. Oklahoma up 1-0 in El Paso after the first period in El Paso, Texas. I'm sure that loss yesterday is not sitting well with the top place team in the South Division, losing to the 7th place team. Brahmas and Ice Wolves still scoreless with 16:50 left to go in the second period over there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Amarillo Wranglers up 3-2 on the Ice Rays with 11:35 left to go in period number 2. Jackalopes, if they don't get a playoff spot, it would pretty much have to be the 4th spot, and then they would assumably go and play the Oklahoma Warriors in the first round, who they went 0-8 against in the regular season. They win the draw, send up Jack Christen. He fires one that catches a stick out in front. That was from Vitale. He recovers it below the goal line. Knifed free by Marshall. Held in by Mitchell from the left point. Marshall looking for a lane to send it. Twisting and turning is the Missouri native. And Goldie will set up Zarski. Zarski spins away from the opposition, lobs it over some heads. All the way down it will go for an icing against Shreveport. 7:39 left to go in period number 2. But as I was saying, as we await for play to resume in the Mudbug zone, the Jackalopes are unable to get that final playoff spot in 4th. I think they should certainly try to get that 5th place spot. Back-to-back years of 5th place. I know it's not what anybody wanted, especially for the vets, and trust me, I know how much they wanted this from the start of the season back in Minnesota when the showcase kicked off. They won their very first game against the defending Robertson Cup champions, the New Jersey Titans, by a score of 2-1. As that one's sent all the way down the length of the ice, and another icing call against Shreveport. Well, Simon Bushler's last loss was on February 18th against the Lone Star Brahmas. Again, that's who the Jacks will host for their final 3 games of this 7 straight homestand here at the Jack Shack. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all games 7:15 p.m. Held in by Marino. They fire one, looking for a deflection, don't get it, as it's smothered by Bushler. Now the Mudbugs will be able to get a new unit, offense and defensive-wise, onto the ice with 7:14 left to go in this second period. Odessa scored 84 goals in their first 30 games, ending on January 13th. That was the official halfway point of the season. Of course, they'll have 7 after this one concludes here But in the last half so far, they've only notched 70. As they try to wrap around again from Cam Dunn, he's denied on the near side post by Bushler. Well, the Sticks were hot in the first half and maybe have died off a little bit. There's been a lot of games where they've lost, only put up one goal and a turnover by Odessa. Coming out to play it is Orderos. They try to chop it back on a fanning clear attempt from Orderos. It missed the net and went behind it. Out it's played by Cam Dunn. That could have spelled disaster for the Jacks. As a Odessa player had wiped out right at the Bud Light logo, just below the blue line in Shreveport territory.
Go, Jacks, go!
That was almost the second goal of the night registered for the Mudbugs after Orderos tried to clear it. The referee on the far side is sandwiched between the Jackalope player and a Mudbug player. Nick Kazari appears to be okay. Under 6 minutes left to go here in period number 2. Yesterday, there was no goal scored in the second period. Shreveport leading in shots 17-16. Perdian collects it down the right wing wall. Drips it over to Adam Armijo. First game for him this weekend. Looking for a deflection from Finn, doesn't get one. So he throws a reversal hit on Danziger. And pops right off the blade of Jack Kristen, lost up in his equipment and drifted on out for Hayden Nickel. Perdian stretches the puck cross ice. Jack Kristen trying to send a pass back out in front, intercepted by the men in teal jerseys and skated out as far as the red line by Danziger, who's at the tail end of his shift. And as a new unit will come onto the ice for Shreveport. Sent right to the captain, Mansfield. My player to watch. Across, he sends it. Begier fires one. He scores! And Ryan Mansfield has 50 points on the season. He is now one of 8 all-time in Jackalopes franchise history to reach 50 points in a single season. 4:57 left to go in the second period, and the Jackalopes lead 2-1. What a shot by Tanya Begier. Is absolutely whizzing it past Simone Bushler. As the Carrots got to be picked up for the second time here this evening. Maybe the shuffling of lines from head coach Scott Doer paying off. Maybe just seeing what has been, what might be working with some other pairings. Again, still a lot of Carrots left out on this ice. Have to be picked up by the youngsters, the Carrot crew, and even the Jackalopes just bring them to the door where the fans come out for the post-game skates. Some more Jackalopes players coming over the bench and trying to help out the young ones picking up the Carrots. This is something that only really the South Division does. And it's a great way to connect with the fans, of course, not only just applauding, but they're showing it on the ice with all the Carrots. And I will say, though, it can take up a little bit of time, and especially when you want to immediately after scoring that goal get right back into it and try to keep that momentum on your side. Now both teams have had some time to get a little R&R following the goal that was scored by the Ohio native Tanya Begier for his 38th of his NAHL career, playing in his 102nd NAHL game. Hit 100 last Saturday, a week ago. Kelly and Emerson Good hit it on Game 1 last weekend against Corpus Christi. 4:57 left to go in the second period. And the Jackalopes are up once more.
Odessa Jackalopes. Score number 28. 10
We have a halt to play quickly. Icing is the result. Shots are even, 17 apiece. Varney with a little helper, as well as Ryan Mansfield, who again gets his 50th career point this season. 50th point of the year, I should say. That's been first time that's happened since the 2016-2017 season, as getting stapled to the boards by Marino was number 16, Nick Miller. And the Jackalopes absolutely buzzing following number 28's goal. As Bezier tried to jab it around the Mudbugs defense. Right back over to the captain. Cross ice to Bezier. Looking for another one. Drop back pass. Mansfield looking to go far side. Misses wide left. All the way up top to Tallene. Hughes with it. Twisting and turning along the far side. Changes directions twice. Back up top to Tallene. Looks for a redirect. They get it from Mansfield. But right into the chest it goes for Bushler. 4:03 remains in period number 2. And man, what a combination Ryan Mansfield and Tanyan Bezier have been so far in their final year of junior hockey. The top 3 in points, along with Emerson Good. He's out there now offensively. He's in after it near side boards. They'll trade places with Tallene. A dangerous pass across, held in on the far side by Wojciechowski as the Illinois line is out there on defense. And again, former Billet brothers Trevor Tallene and Wojciechowski reunited right around the trade deadline, or a little bit before that, as Tallene came back down from the USHL. Skated out by Ventali on an intercept. They'll send it deep and chase after Trevor Tallene along the near side corner. 3:20 left to go in period number 2. Tallene with it. Sends it far side, right to the stick of Good. Long saucer pass will hit Marshall. Marshall running out of some real estate, looking for some assistance as well. So he'll wind it deep below the goal line. Jackalopes come away with it. A centering pass. Ricocheted off the backside of the net, and getting dumped was Marshall. No call on the play. Toe drag move by Good. Back to the point they send it. Back over for Good. Into the left circle. Shot stopped. And the puck is loose just to the side of the net. Bushler had no clue with under 3 minutes left to go in the second period. Now, the Mudbugs look for their own stretch pass, broken up at the red line by Charlie Emmy and company. Great pace so far from the Jacks, after maybe the first half being dominated by Shreveport. Now leading in shots 19-17. Recently they were trailing 17-14 in shots, so it's been 5 unanswered. Rifled in from the red line by Trevor Mitchell. Brother Travis Mitchell was played in their second game of the men's Frozen Four against some very tough opponents. And taking a big hit along the near side. That was done. They finally dispersed from the near side wall. Sent over to Muskin, and offside is called. As Muskin and Dunn going after one another on the near side corner. Kason Muskin, the 05 left winger, committed the Maine University, or the University of Maine, I should say. As I was saying about Trevor Mitchell's brother, Travis, his team Cornell, the Big Red, lost to Boston University in the second round of the Frozen Four, 2-1. Another game that occurred, Minnesota versus St. Cloud State. The Golden Gophers won that one 4-1. Another 2 games tomorrow, Ohio State versus Quinnipiac, 3 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. Penn State against Michigan at 5:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. That will follow the first one. Being a big Penn State fan, I'll have my eyes locked onto that one tomorrow. Michigan, definitely a good team. There could be a matchup, just like there was at the Big Ten championship game between Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan won for their back-to-back year. there could be a likelihood that Minnesota and Michigan match up at the championship in Amalie Arena, home of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Big hit in the near side boards as Jake Mack is on the receiving end of a big Noah Marino hit, and as he gets his stick in the way of that, Marino tried to throw a reversal bump at, or my apologies, that was Mack that tried to do it to Marino, and Marino sidestepped him. Entering with it is Nick Miller. Miller across, they send it, and a slap shot is eaten up by Orderos. From the top of left circle from Liam Fleet. A blast of a one-timer from the righty. It was elevating high towards the head of the Hungarian netminder. 1 minute exactly left to go here in the second period. Jackalopes leading 2-1.
There is 1 minute left in the second period. 1 minute.
Orderos comes out to play it. Around the shelf, it will go on the far side. Held in by Shreveport. Wrap it around the horseshoe.
Go, Jack, go.
Fans are getting rowdy here at the tail end of period number 2 as their team is leading by a score of 2-1. Wojciechowski pestering Drake Morse below the goal line. Puck squirts free for Odessa. Tallene appeared to get up, hit up high from Eric Vitale. Play continues on back in Shreveport territory. Tallene fires one right onto Bushler with 25 seconds left to go. That was from the neutral zone, so Odessa had to go back and tag up as Fleet brings it dangerously right in front of Bushler. Does get a pass off, and all the way down, it was tipped, so no icing call. Orderos settles things down for his defense. Odessa lays it across the Tallene. He'll whip it out as far as the red line. D to D, and then right in front of the benches it's played. 2 seconds left to go. Bodies collide with Tallene. They try to send it. And some pushing and shoving with Wojciechowski and a Mudbug player. That's number 22, Kason Musket. We know him very well. He's been in the mix of things. 67 penalty minutes for the 05 left winger. As Tallene has a Shreveport player in a headlock on the far side. Get your popcorn ready for period number 3. It's going to be a feisty one here from the Ector County Coliseum. As Wojciechowski jawing with the 5'11" University of Maine commit, Kason Muscat. Odessa out shooting Shreveport 20-19, and it looked like a Mudbug player wanted to drop his gloves. Everybody's still on the benches for both parties, and the ruckus is still occurring right around Orderos' net. Zamboni and none of the on-ice activities can even really get going, as Muscat and Wojciechowski have to be fully separated. Wojciechowski immediately showing the door back to the locker room. Muscat back to the bench, as now it appears the Jackalopes are going to be able to exit the bench and make their way across the ice and return to the locker room after 40 minutes of play with a 2-1 lead. And the physicality will certainly ramp up in the final period, in the final meeting between these two teams here in the regular season. Shreveport, but still a lot on the line as they're trying to fight for that second place spot against Lone Star. Odessa trying to keep their playoff hopes alive as they sit 10 points back of New Mexico and has the control of the 4th spot. 2-1 Jacks lead in the score sheet, and they're also up in shots 20-19. I'm going to have a special guest join me in just a little bit, so stay tuned on Hockey TV as we talk a little bit about what Shriners means here in the Permian Basin. Stay tuned on Hockey TV. you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, I have another special guest joining me here at the press box, Paige Khalifa. And why don't you introduce yourself to everybody listening on Hockey TV and tell them a little bit about, of course, what you do at Shriners and how you got involved.
My name is Paige Khalifa, and I got involved with Shriners when I was an infant. I don't remember being involved with them except for my parents and what they've told me. I was born with a disability called nail patella syndrome, and with Shriners, I had 5 surgeries on one foot. I was told I would never walk, and they made it to where I could walk, and it's a blessing every day that I can get up and do that. So I've been involved with Shriners since, I think my first surgery, I believe my mom said I was about 4 weeks old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, again, Brianna was talking yesterday how many surgeries she's went through and how young she was. And I'm sure, obviously, it's very difficult, and like she was saying, very hard to process at such a young age. Now that you are, of course, obviously, been around Shriners for a while, and you said you've went through 5 surgeries, what can you say to the kids? Like, what kind of motivation or what kind of messages do you give them and words of encouragement as they're battling their own types of, as Brianna was saying, I believe it was called, Help Us Help Kids was the hashtag that we were going with, but it was, I'm blanking on the one that she had said, but it was pretty much, they're being tested every day, and she didn't like the word disability, of course. It was kind of, she was rolling with it, and she wanted to, of course, beat the odds and prove to everybody. So what a message are you saying to those kids that are maybe going through that and words of encouragement?
There are disabilities, but you are no different than anybody else. You're still, my mom, bless my mother, she never let me be different than any other kid out there. Just because I had a physical disability didn't mean that I couldn't do what the next kid did. And you can put one foot in front of the other and do what everybody else does. Don't let it get you down because you have the capabilities just as everybody else does to do what they do.
And I think that's obviously a beautiful message to put out there to the youth, of course, to try to, of course, get their mind off of it. And there's tons of people that, kids that go through hardships that obviously have to, no fault to their own, have to have the surgeries to, of course, improve their health and well-being for the future. And it's great to see them, obviously, like you and Brianna, coming back, showing support for Shriners, and nothing but positive things between you two and what the Jacks and the organization have with Shriners. They've been doing it for a long time, and they're going to continue to do it for years to come. And what does the auction mean to you specifically? I know you got up and you talked last year, so I remember that, and I know it can be very emotional talking about that stuff, but what does a weekend like this mean to you?
It's very emotional, and this is my second year doing this with Shriners since I finally was able to get involved and give back. And I don't have to give them money or anything. I can just be here and be a person that people can see that, hey, it does work and they can help you. And the auction was last year, getting up and speaking was the first time I've done that in front of a group of people. And for me, it was very nerve-wracking, but it was also awesome. And it felt really good to let people know, like, hey, this is what they did for me so that I can walk every day. You don't know what a blessing it is to be able to get up and put one foot in front of the other and just walk when you get out of bed in the morning. And for some of us, that's not always a possibility. So the auction and the funds that go towards the foundation are just amazing to help the kids that need help moving forward.
And I will say that's something that, of course, I would say a lot of people do take for granted. That's something that you really don't think about in the day-to-day life unless you are going through. And that was something that Brianna and you are, testifying. You don't really know until, you have to kind of walk a mile in their shoes and really see what they went through growing up. Because it is, obviously, it's a difficult process to get, obviously, here and to be able to go through all the surgeries and obviously go through, treatments and stuff like that. But I know we're doing a 50-50 raffle again, and how can people donate? Maybe if they're just listening, and I know Shriners is kind of a global thing, and if they're maybe not in Texas, a lot of parents listen to this broadcast from all over the U.S. and even international as well. But where can they go to donate if they choose to do so?
Shriners has a website. You can go to you Google Shriners and it will come up and you will find it. You will find it.
What is a good way for people to get involved locally in the community? Obviously, we have Shriners out once a year. We do the specialty jerseys every year and do the jersey auction with benefit the Shriners, of course. Again, that will be live after the game tonight. But what's another way? I know you guys are very active in the community yourself. So how can people maybe try to find you or try to incorporate themselves in giving back to the community?
You can find any Masonic temple, and they won't bite. You can go knock on the door, walk it through their door, and ask how you can help. And they will be more than happy to tell you how they can help. And if you can't help financially, there may be ways that you can help by volunteering and just giving back in that aspect.
Well, again, I think it is a tremendous thing what Shriners does on the back of these jerseys, as, again, they're holding the 50-50 raffle, but it also says Help Kids on the back. They use the hashtag Help Us Help Kids, and we were using that going into this weekend series against the Shreveport Mudbugs. And, I mean, I'm sure you've seen, your history of Shriners and impacting sports, but what do you think about the jerseys that are on display here this weekend?
I think they're amazing because that's what Shriner does, is help kids. And honestly, they don't just help kids, they help them through their adulthood too when they need it. They're an amazing organization, and they will be there for you, not just as a child, but as you progress. And they don't help me in medical terms, but they help me give back to the kids that do need help right now.
And I just think that's absolutely tremendous what Shriners does for kids, trying to benefit them, make it easier for them, and also the families, of course, because I know it can't be easy for the loved ones of that family member, the kid that's going through any difficult hardship. And I will say this, it's been such a pleasure to work with Shriners. I've only been here for 2 years, but I know the bond that they have with a lot of the front office staff here because they've been doing it for so long. Also some of the off-ice officials because they've been here for a long time. So I know I see tons of smiles from everybody wearing the fezzes and, of course, wearing the Help Kids jerseys for the sponsors. And they're at the back of the jersey on the bottom as well. So they've really incorporated themselves into a hockey game, which is something out of the norm for, I would say, myself, because I'm from the East Coast and I wasn't really familiar with Shriners. I do know, again, they're kind of all over the U.S., but coming out here and dealing with Shriners last year for my first year, I think it was just a tremendous experience, and I'm so glad we are having the opportunity to do it again this year.
Yeah, and also just kind of something that you said triggered it in my mind, to the parents with those kids that are going through those disabilities. They've got your back too. And my parents went through a very hard time being in and out of the hospital with me, but we all made it through it. You just got to keep your head up, and it will get better. Have faith.
And I think when you were talking about it earlier, they don't just help when you're kids. They help through your adulthood as well, because they know it's that, the surgeries, they're going to stick with you, and trying to overcome it, it's going to be, a day-to-day thing, for the rest of your life. And obviously adapting to it is what Shriners is all about. And like you're saying, putting one foot in front of the other, overcoming the odds. And I think it's a tremendous thing that they do to be able to help the kids beyond the age of 18. Obviously, once you become that adult age, usually you kind of are just thrown back out into the general population. But it's so nice to hear you and Brianna both testify that they go above and beyond, even when you are even done the surgeries and you're on your own. They're still there checking in on you. And like you said, you came back, and now you have an opportunity to really help out Shriners, help out ones that maybe were obviously in your path when you were growing up. And it's just a tremendous thing to see. And I know I can't wait to see what the number is we can raise at the end of the evening. I know a lot of the players were really psyched to see the jerseys, and we did a jersey reveal.
Yeah.
That's all over our social media, so we tagged all the Shriners that we could in that as well. So I can't say any more positive things about Shriners. If somebody wants to reach out to you personally, if they have any questions, and I did this with Brianna as well, if they know of anybody that's going through something similar, or maybe something else that or they know somebody that maybe would benefit, or if they just want to donate, how can they reach out to you specifically?
Oh, absolutely, because it's not just the physical, it's the emotional too. That definitely takes a toll, and I can be found on Facebook, and I have an email. I don't know if I should put that out there or not, but I'd be more than happy to. But I can also have you tag me too on social media, and definitely if somebody even just needs someone to talk to, like, hey, how did you get through this, or can you give me advice or anything, I'm more than happy to help.
And again, Paige Kaliva, I also really got the pronunciation down before we got onto the interview.
It's a little difficult. Yeah, I can thank my dad for that.
But you were tremendous. Thank you so much for coming on, joining me during the second period intermission. We got about 5 minutes or so left in this intermission. The Zambonis making its final rounds to prepare us for this final period here in the final meeting between Shreveport and Odessa in the regular season. Paige, if you want to shout anybody out before I send you off to enjoy the final period, and as the Jacks are up 2-1.
Oh, well, let's definitely say, first of all, go Jacks.
Of course.
We're up 2-1. Let's keep that lead and win this game tonight. I will throw a shout out to my grandmother, Bonnie Knight, who passed away just over a year ago. Last year when I was here, she was so excited because she was going to get a picture of me doing this, and it was very, very emotional for me last year coming out because she passed away just before the game. And she is who I got my birth defect from. But she is an amazing woman. She was a blessing that we all had while we were here. And, of course, my mom and dad, Vic and Kimberly. The rest of my family, and, of course, my 4 beautiful children. I have 3 adult children and a 17-month-old. So I started all over. But, of course, all my children all know that I love them very much. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Paige. And, again, I look forward to maybe seeing you after this game concludes, whenever that is, hopefully just in regulation. And like you said, the Jacks can pull out, split the weekend series with Shreveport, keeping the playoff hopes alive, and obviously maybe making the auction that much better here after the game. It will be over by the main doors of the Ector County Coliseum. And again, if you have any questions, look up Paige, look up anybody else, and maybe try to find a Shriners near you. And again, maybe just donate a little bit of your time or maybe some money and just, again, help kids. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And if you're in the Midland, Odessa area and you're not here yet, come on out for the auction at the end of the game.
Yeah, you still got some time. We're, again, just about ready to get started with the final 20 minutes of regulation. I'm going to let Paige go, update some things on social media. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Perfect. You too. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Well, we have a developing story here at the Ector County Coliseum. I just saw John Wojciechowski come onto the ice for warm-ups with his team and then be escorted out of the game and back to the locker room. So I believe his night is done, and they put number 14, Brent Litchard, in the box for 2 minutes. This is all stemming from the altercation after period number 2 concluded, and I'm going to see if it's updated on the game summary sheet. I would love to see if number 22, Kason Musket, is also ejected. And Wojciechowski got a 10 and a 2, but he's got a whole period to play, but he is not in the penalty box. Kason Musket also got a 10 and a 2. Trevor Tallene got a roughing minor. Wojciechowski, again, just the 10 and the 2. Unless there's another penalty, but the referee, Nate Kazari, escorted Wojciechowski away from the team and back to the locker room. After a feisty end to period number 2, it looks like, unless Wojciechowski maybe needed some repairs, but he did come out with the team he thought would start period number 3. The referee went over to talk to both head coaches as we get set for the final period. And this is an interesting lineup. They put 3 right at the line, but then they put the captain right in front of the bench, and then they moved Drake Morse over to the far side. And I apologize as well, it's not Brent Litchard, it's a penalty on Trevor Tallene. So it's a 5-on-4. They send it left circle out in front. Kick save by Orderles, denying Garrett Steele of his second goal of the game. Jacks are offside. So Trevor Tallene roughing minor is why Shreveport has a power play opportunity for their second of the game. There was so much I was trying to catch up on with social media coming out of the interview with Paige Kaliva, and then again they stretch a Mudbug player all the way out in front of the benches. It's almost like they're trying to camouflage him with the bench, and that was Vitale this time. Something I didn't see in any of the power plays, any of the 6. Well, the last one actually was at the very end of the game. They never went on that 6 power play as Horde got called for cross-checking at the 20-minute mark of period number 3. But I didn't see them set up any of their man advantages like they have done so to start this third period, trailing 2-1. Up top to Park, right below the Bud Light logo. Into the circle, Gotinski. They look for a rebound, and a backhanded shot is up and over the net off the stick of Hayden Nickel. Back up top to Park. 45 seconds left of this counter-printing penalty kill. Gotinski tried to step into a shot. Jabbed momentarily away by Jack Kristen, and cleared out of the zone by Odessa as 4 new skaters come onto the ice with 18:30 left to go here in period number 3. A big hit with Sorn on the far side. Jackalopes with numbers, trying to get it short-handed. Begier tapped it back out in front. His initial one was denied by a diving Jake Mack. Is my player to watch for this weekend series. Sent to the left-hand side for Morse. Into the face-off down on the far side. Rolled right off his blade up to the point. They send it for Burke. Far side shot. Rattles the glass. And out of the box comes Tallene as we go back to 5-on-5 hockey. And I wonder if Wojciechowski got any more than what's given on the game summary sheet, because there is a Mudbug player in the penalty box as Hoyer tried to go short side, was denied by Bushler. That's Musket. As he has a total of 12 minutes he has to serve, but only 12 was given to Wojciechowski as they try for a quick redirect down in front from Nick Miller. Had one of those yesterday on that power play. Far side circle, another shot stopped by Ordos. Rebound is still loose to the side of his post, and that is dislodged. And they fired one after the whistle, but looks like nothing will come of that as a shot came from Nick Lavassier. 17-18 left to go in period number 3. Big collision right around Ordos' net, knocking it off its pegs. Offensive zone draw for Shreveport. 0 for 2 on the power play are the Mudbugs. Odessa's only had one man advantage so far. It was back in period number 1. Shots are even 22 apiece. And again, the net is coming off its pegs. And the whistle was blown well before it was shot from number 13 in teal, Nick Marino. He thought he had a tying goal. Offensive zone draw for Shreveport, near side circle. One back up top. Zarski fires one into the traffic. Collected by Josh Austin, sent down the left wing wall. As he wheels in behind Zarski and after it against Fleet. Armijo tries to turn one towards Bushler. Lost some momentum as the Mudbugs cross the red line and softly drape it deep. Tallene will knife it away from Hayden Nickel as it will reach the stick of Josh Austin. Fires one right into the left glove of Bushler and the halt to play. With Odessa leading 2-1. Shots still tied 23 apiece. Mitchell keeping it in from the top of the right point. Alex Park passes it into the circle as it's tracked by Goldie. Going left to Rhino, pitchfork it deep into the Jacks territory. Pumping the brakes is Varney. Twist and turn one over to Mitchell. Now to the half wall. Odessa trying to skate out with it. And thrown off the puck momentarily was Ryan Kelly. Yeah, not used to seeing him out there on that line other than having Bezier and Mansfield on the wings with him. He, again, is swapped places with Justin Hughes. Second line is still the same as it's been for the majority of the season. About 4 minutes into period number 3. The Jackalopes have an offensive zone draw far side circle. And jersey auction following tonight's game, benefiting Shriners. Jackalopes do it every year, and it's a great way to give back to the community. Jack Kristen will twirl one back over to Mansfield. Collected by the Jacks. Hughes sets it up, a forward pass, and the shot goes up and over the head of Bushler. As Tanya Bezier has had his second of the evening. Collected by Danziger and fed forward. That one glances up and out of play off a stick. And luckily into open area in the stands. And fan will get a lucky souvenir with 15:30 left to go in period number 3. Neutral zone draw. Marshall up against Ryan Burke. Marshall wins it back to the defense. Marino snaps it forward to Marshall. Off to the right-hand side. Jackalopes trying to knife it deep into the attacking zone. Mudbugs possess it. Hardy stepping up on the play to try to keep it in for the Jacks. The centering up pass out in front from Marshall as he was almost able to get it away from Zarski a second time. Hardy steps up, turns one back into the slot. Gotinsky unable to clear a slap shot from the right point. Dribbles right towards Bushler. Has to stay alert. off of Carroll. Over 5 elapsed here in the final period of regulation. Odessa out shooting Shreveport 24-23 and outscoring them as well 2-1. Again, Shreveport, any point here this evening will have them clinch a playoff spot. Next weekend, they go and play the Oklahoma Warriors. New Mexico will host the Warriors for their final games of the regular season, and that could be a potential preview to a first-round matchup. Unless, of course, the Jackalopes or Amarillo are able to catch the Ice Wolves here in the final few games of the 2022-23 regular season. Amarillo's getting a little bit of a heater lately. They're trying to pick up a sweep against Corpus Christi. Lofted right back over to Orderos. Paddled aside and then slapped around by Mitchell. Jackalopes find it from the corner. Austin will feather it out. That Park will pick it up and dish it deep. Changes coming on the fly for the visiting Mudbugs as Orderos fakes the opposition. That was Lavoisier biting on that. From the center ice logo, Austin of the Jackalopes bring it into the offensive zone. And offside is the result with 14:08 left to go in the third.
The largest food service company of the Permian Basin, opens in public 6 days a week, then located in the heart of Odessa.
Again, the big notices out of lineup this weekend. Michael Kadlasik and Jackson Hay. Kadlasik, they're in the building with the scratches of Mark Fleetmeyer as well as Blake Arneson for this game number 2. Kadlasik ended up breaking his hand on a fight with a Ice Ray player last weekend and is expected to be out the rest of the season. So that is a certainly tough loss, and you don't want to see that happen to anybody, especially this late in the season when you pretty much are out of time to try to recoup from an injury like that. And then Jackson Hay, the senior, as Foster fires one towards Orderos, and they try to redirect. That time from number 12, Hayden Nickel. Didn't get one. As Dunn will just sweep it deep. And Jackson Hay twisted his ankle also in that game. Didn't finish the game out as well as they go low to high and back out to the neutral zone. So we hope the senior is able to at least try to get back in action, maybe for the 3-3 next week. We've talked to Hay a little bit away from, of course, the game, and just saying how eager he is to try to apply some pressure. Now the Mudbugs are, and they're able to tie the game as Drake Moore notches his second of the weekend. With 12:54 left to go in the third period. The assistant captain off a broken up play back in Odessa territory. Number 17, Drake Morris from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Scored in the first period in yesterday's game. He ended up getting the game-winning goal, and he gets the tying one here in game number 2. Another tied hockey game.
17, Drake Morris, assisted number 25.
Tallene will chase after it from the right corner. Brush it along the yellow trim. Jackalopes unable to tap it out. They get another opportunity on it, and Good will recover. Skate across the logo. Now enter the offensive zone. Trying to dangle away from 3 Mudbugs players. Creates some open ice for himself on the far side. As the Ferris State commit has changed directions twice, dropping it into the corner on the far side. 12:15 left to go in this final period. Here in the final meeting of the regular season between these two teams. Good, fires one, fought off by Bushler. Hoyard will pick it up along the wall. Burke will strip him of the puck. Down low for Good. Good changes direction again, and it's taken out from Park, and a power play upcoming for the Jacks. And Marshall takes down a Mudbug player from behind. And you got to think maybe Marshall's now going to go as well. and potentially costed the Jacks a power play opportunity. 11:57 left to go in regulation. That's where discipline has to be at the forefront of the minds for the Jacks. Alex Park in the penalty box, as is William Marshall now. An undisciplined play from the Missouri native, an unnecessary one as well. His team was going on the power play. I know he probably came in to defend his teammate, but in a 2-2 hockey game, with the playoff chances dwindling, got to remain out of the box, as now it goes to 4-on-4 hockey. And 4-on-4 hockey for 1 minute and 50 seconds, as there's Alex Park and William Marshall in the penalty boxes for their respective teams. Zarski sets up Drake Morse, who enters, weaving right to left. He's bumped off the ankle by Marino. Being a pass down low is Jaden Goldie, as he's held to the boards by Varney. Sent around to Ryan Kelly. Kelly back in below the goal line. He'll send things with 11:15 left to go in the third. Second time of 4-on-4 hockey, and it takes a ricochet. And a bounce back over to the Mudbugs blue line. Gathered by Hayden Nickel. They'll pivot, turn it back up top to Danziger. Fires one, good block shot from the Jacks out in front as it's carried from right to left. And as far as the blue line by Tanyan Painter. Ryan Austin will twirl one back to Danziger. 45 seconds left to go on the 4-on-4 hockey with 10:40 left to go in the third. A 2-2 hockey game after Drake Morse just scored the tying goal as he went 1-on-1 with Ordros off a broken play in Odessa territory. Mansfield's able to drag it out of the zone, send it to the right-hand side. Doesn't connect with Jack Kristen. They don't tag up, and Shreveport will carry it out. And a delayed offside call. Burke is poke checked to the boards and then held by Mitchell. And they collide with the ref, and then they finally are able to get it loose. Pass over to Mansfield. 3-on-2 for the Jacks if they hurry. Mansfield tries to stretch the ice surface to the far side. Took a carom, and Mansfield goes right back after it. Out of the boxes come Park and Marshall as we go back to even strength hockey. Here with 9:50 left to go in the third, as the Mudbugs are leading in shots 26-25. Sent right to the waiting stick of Lavoisier and then off the blade of Nick Miller. Trevor Tallene sets up Marino far side. Marino unable to handle it. Shreveport with it. They try a cross-crease pass and don't get one off, and then a follow-up shot from the left circle. Just nicks off the body of Ordros. That came from number 16 in teal, Nick Miller. Now with it, the lone man in is Litcher. Sends it deep for Miller as he collides with Tallene in the right corner. 9:05 to play in the third. Shreveport trying to punch their ticket to the Robertson Cup playoffs. That's the Jackalopes looking to spoil their fun and trying to make them work for it even more in their final stretch of the regular season. Again, they go to Oklahoma next weekend to face the Warriors. Danziger trying to find a teammate, unable to do so, and icing is called. With 8:32 left to go in period number 3.
Grab yourself a bidder number at the merchandise store and bid on these game worn jerseys, benefiting Shriners Hospital for Children.
Offensive zone draw for the Jacks, far side circle. Again, Kason Musket still sitting in the box as he has a total of 12 minutes to serve. I'm not seeing anything else assessed to Will Jahalski, but it is shocking that he was given the same amount of time and he actually got an accumulation, as there was a good pillow save by Ordros on a momentary breakaway from Shreveport. Jake Mack trying to get around from Vardy, and he's thrown down to the ice, and Vardy's going to get a penalty. 8 minutes exactly left to go in period number 3, and Musket out of the penalty box and across to the bench as Vardy is in disbelief of the penalty called by Nate Kazari. 12 total power plays yesterday, 6 for each team. The Jackalopes have only had one man advantage in this game. This is the third for Shreveport. And I'm just seeing now they did update it. At the end of period number 2, Will Jahalski got an accumulation unsportsmanlike conduct, another 10 minutes. So he has a total of 22 penalty minutes, and that is why he had to not join the team for period number 3, as it's going to be a tripping call against Shreveport. So the power play quickly negated. It's the guilty party, number 29, Jake Mack, as it was just 8 seconds into the man advantage for the Mudbugs. So Odessa will have an 8-second power play once we're done, a minute 52 of 4-on-4 hockey.
It's now 4-on-4 for the next minute and 52 seconds.
Odessa won it from Ryan Kelly, forced back up top. Trying to stuff it from the right circle. Puck is still sitting loose at the hash marks, collected by Shreveport. And wound back by Nick Marino. He gets a drop back pass on the far side corner. Him and Ryan Austin play catch. And some familiar last names, Marino and Austin, playing for Shreveport as well as the Jacks. No relation for either parties, with a minute 15 of 4-on-4 hockey, and then there again will be an 8-second power play for the Jacks. So they utilize that very, very short power play opportunity just for their second of the game after having 6 yesterday. Far side circle. Jackalopes trying to tap it out in front. They score! On redirection from the top of the crease, and the Jackalopes make it 3-2. Jack Kristen, with 1 minute left to go exactly on the 4-on-4. Number 3 gets his 5th NAHL goal. Happened on the far side, and Bushler's win streak in jeopardy. With 7:01 left to go in the third. Again, hasn't lost since February 18th against the Lone Star Brahmas. Shreveport came into this game on a 7-game win streak and picked up points in 9 straight, 8-0-0-1. Longest active streak in the NAHL. Gotta love that for the Jacks, utilizing the open space. They were able to tap it home past Bushler. Carrot crew still picking up the carrots that were thrown over the glass for the 3rd time here this evening. Fist pump to netminder Greg Orderos from one of the Carrot crew members.
Odessa Jackalopes. For number 3, John Christian.
What a great goal from number 3 and a perfect time. Give the Jackalopes their third of the evening. A lot of speed on the far side for Zarski as he was turning on the afterburners, quickly negated. Still 4-on-4 hockey for 33 seconds. And still open ice available for both squads. Here with under 6:30 left to go in the final period. The final meeting between these two South Division rivals. Jackalopes come into this game 4-2-1 on the season against the Mudbugs. That puck looked to appear earlier to have stung the referee as it was whipped right by him. It appears to be okay as Shreveport has it from their own zone. Snapped over to the near side boards the Musket. After he served just his 2 and 10, Danziger will collect it. Now the power play expiring for the Jacks as Shreveport has had it for a good duration in their own zone, and out of the box comes Jake Mack. Cross ice will send on a new pair of legs. Just missing Jack Christen, the latest goal scorer. Post-game jersey auction. Jacks trying to split the weekend series, sending 10 points out of a playoff spot. From coast to coast goes tall lead. Sharp angle fought off by Bushler. Spun back up top, pitchfork deep by Vardy. Now the opposite 5 in after it, Alex Park. Leaves it for Ryan Austin, far side. Fluttered over right in front of the off-ice officials booth as Vitale thrown hard into the boards by Mansfield. As it's kicked along by Justin Hughes. 5:10 left to go in the third. Morse sends it across and good defensive play by Mitchell. Great stick on puck, negating a potential breakaway from Eric Vitale. Drake Morris couldn't keep that one on his blade as Vardy will force it into the offensive zone. Only for it to be pushed right back. Vitale tags back up. And Vardy sends it to the far side. Dished out by the Jacks with a lot of speed. Leading it is Adam Armijo. Drop back pass intercepted by Lyncher. Far side circle. Log jam ensues with Lyncher and having that one jabbed off his blade. Mudbugs still with puck possession. Finally snaking out of their zone, and before it's dribbled in the left corner off a dump and chase. Lavoisier fires one puck. Ricochets back up top to the right point. Zarski. High to low, they send it. 4:15 left to go in regulation. Shreveport try a wraparound. Puck is still loose. And it's stuffed by the Jacks and then sent all the way out. There's going to be a call with Lavoisier getting sent down to the ice by Noah Marino. I believe it's going to be number 12, Noah Marino, on the guilty party. Lavoisier went hard to the ice. And I saw the referee's hand raised as well. They're actually not going to open up the penalty boxes at all. And it's going to be 5-on-5 hockey. It looks like Orderos' net is not fully on that left post of his, where his right blocker's at. It looks like the near post is certainly on that red line on the goal line, but it looks like the far one is not. And I wonder if they will notice that as play goes on. And again, Orderos knows his net better than anybody else as that one just squirts past Danziger. Finn, 2-on-1. Back to Finn. He scores! Tic, tac, toe. The Jackalopes are up by a pair. It's 4-2. With under 4 minutes left to go in regulation. The poise the Jacks just displayed to be able to make the Mercyhurst commit the reigning South Division Star of the Week, the two-time goaltender of the month, make them scramble between the 4x6 cage for their fourth of the evening. And currently, the winningest NHL goaltender so far this season at 25 wins. He's been a big component of the Shreveport squad. It's his 37th game this season. They've been riding him all year long. You got to think it's taken a toll on number 44 in teal. 3:55 left to go in the third, and the Jackalopes have their largest lead of the weekend. In prime real estate to split the weekend series and get their 5th win of the season against the formidable Shreveport Mudbugs. Number 17, Brendan Finn, gets his 11th NAHL goal in his final season of his junior career. It really was a great setup. They were able to get it past Danziger, and really it was just Finn and J.R. Purdy and kind of just playing mind games with Simon Bushler. Racing in is Gotinsky, flipped along to the near side. Waiting for it was Burke. Back up top to Park, my apologies. And Gotinsky's shot goes well wide. I'll keep my eye on Bushler. There's still 3:20 left to go in period number 3. So a lot of action still left to be had here at the Ector County Coliseum. Jackalopes trying to snap a 7-game Shreveport win streak and hand them their first loss in regulation in 9 games. And that could potentially be the dagger. A long stretch pass will connect to Morris. He overskated it as it's fendered down below the goal line just to the left of Ordos, and Simone Bushler racing to the bench to send on the extra attacker. We saw this yesterday a lot with the Jacks and over the course of their season, but now they have a chance to deposit the biscuit in the empty basket. And it's dragged out by Emerson Good, leading the team in goals with 27, 8 shy of tying the record. Gathered by Fleet off a scrum down the near side wall. 2:20 left to go in the third, and an empty net on the left-hand side of the screen on Hockey TV. 6 skaters in teal to 5 in white. Shreveport trailing 4-2. They fire one, caught by Ordos. A huge stop from the Hungarian netminder, and Tallene has his helmet ripped off. 1-game suspension automatic. We've seen that with Wojciechowski. That should automatically be given a suspension to the Mudbug player that ripped Tallene's helmet off. The Jackalopes have been on the receiving end of those. Frustration coming from the visiting team in teal. I don't know if Nate Kazari is going to call a penalty on anything that occurred after the tremendous save by Greg Ordos. No pressure is going to come from Shreveport from all angles as they're down by 2. With 2:09 left to go in the third. And the officials talking things over. We've seen it here in this building called against the Jacks for removing a player's helmet. We know it's a penalty, and that very well should be called. I highly doubt Tallene removed his own helmet in the process of the ruckus and behind Ordos' net. And it looks like the penalty box doors remain shut, so 6-on-5 hockey favoring Shreveport in terms of numbers on the ice, but not numbers on the score sheet, as Odessa has a 4-2 lead over the third place team in the South Division. From the ensuing draw, Mansfield sauces it over. A pass collected by Mansfield. He's got nothing but the empty net. He dives. He scores! The captain, the nail in the coffin. It's 5-2 Jacks. And the playoff hopes for Shreveport are going to have to wait a little bit longer. A 3-goal third period for the Jacks. And they get an empty net goal themselves. With just under 2 minutes left to go in the third. Simon Bushler back between the 4x6 cage as his team is trailing 5-2.
Odessa Jackalopes goal scored by number 11, the captain, Ryan Mansfield.
Mansfield with a diving play at the empty net. He had a Mudbug player draped all over him, but he was able to nudge it enough. Varney with another helper. And this is certainly going to help the jersey auction. And again, will take place right after this game. Jackalopes are going to get their 5th win on the season against Shreveport. Bushler remains between the pipes, as the Mudbugs will flip it up and out of play. Actually, right into the left glove of Quentin Sigurdsson. He's backing up Greg Orderos here. 1:32 left to go in the third. What a rousing game number 2 for the Jacks, as they are trailing in shots by 1 but leading by 3 on the score sheet. Shreveport has 30 shots put up on Orderos. A win for Orderos puts him tied for 2nd in wins in a season in Jackalopes history, and he ties last year goaltender Alex Proctor. He was at the D3 level for the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. He lost in playoffs to Adrian at the D3 tournament. Out the windshield it will go, and then all the way down collected by Zarski. Sent from one zone to the other, all the way down for negate the icing as Mitchell slaps it around as far as the half wall. Hope to get it to Emmy. 1 minute is announced here of the PA system. There's all sorts of cheerings going on throughout the Ector County Coliseum, anticipating a 5-2 win over the South Division rival Shreveport Mudbugs. And man, what a way to do it. Vassier fires one, fought off by Orderos. It's out in front. Big stick lift by the Jacks, and another follow-up hit. A diving play by Lavoisier as he tripped Emmy. And the retaliation's coming from both ends here in a feisty last 30 seconds of regulation. And Lavoisier gets teed up. He's gone. Well, your team's down 5-2 and gets teed up. We'll see if that carries over into Game 1 next weekend against Oklahoma. 2-minute power play for the Jacks, just their 3rd of the game. Their previous one was only 8 seconds long. This will be their first one, but there's only 30 seconds left in the game, and they're up by 3. Nick Lavoisier, 2-minute minor for tripping. He came into this game with 54 penalty minutes, and he's going to get a 10-minute unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and that occurred obviously under 5 minutes, so I'm not sure if they will look into that or if they'll just leave it at the 10. But Shreveport has got a big test next weekend up against Oklahoma. Their playoff hopes so very well likely for the team from Shreveport, Louisiana, as they sit at currently 71 points. Max points for the Jacks are 69, so they can't even get 3rd place, and their only hopes are 4th, and it's currently being held by New Mexico. Backpedaling with it, Stallin looks up at the score clock, sees 16 seconds on it, sends it cross ice. So the Jacks have a power play. Latest goal was scored by Ryan Mansfield. An empty net goal. Jackalopes just Queens to keep it in their own zone, and there you have it. The Jackalopes' 26th win of the season and number 21 for Greg Orderos, as he ties Alex Proctor for the second most wins in a single season. He is now 5 behind the legend Connor Hellebuck, the NHL goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets. They snap the 9-game point streak by the Mudbugs. And Odessa, 26-24, 1-2 on the season. They now get the 55 points and their 13th home win. They won't have much of a turnaround between now and their next game, as they'll be back in action on Thursday, 7:15 against the second-place team, the Lone Star Brahmas. Odessa puts up a 5 spot on Shreveport. They're outshot 31-29. But man, was that a phenomenal performance and a tremendous third period by the Jacks. The best period yesterday was the second, and now they piece it together in the final one to put up 3 on Bushler for his first loss since February 18th against Lone Star. We'll see you on Thursday right back here at the Jack Shack, as Odessa wins 5-2.